The people who matter to us will always matter to us. You can no longer be in love and still have love. It's because they have love for each other that they hate each other so much.
Neither one of the characters is perfect.
While there is growth towards acceptance of this is our reality, Charlie is still self-absorbed. He walked on her. She allowed it to happen. She didn't have a voice, and in her mind, the only way to have a voice, it's very all or nothing. You can still love somebody and not want them in your life anymore. Good co-parenting is to still find a way to love this person. And it's messy and painful, and that's one of the greatest things we can do with life is, here's my mess, and here's my trauma, so how am I going to turn it into something lovely?
Welcome to Cinema Therapy. My name's Alan Seawright. I'm a professional filmmaker who needs the therapies.
I'm Jonathan Decker, licensed therapist who loves movies. What are we doing? What's going on?
I would like you to give therapy to Charlie and Nicole.
From Marriage
the
Story?
Protagonists slash antagonists, the miserable white people of A Marriage Story.
So movies, couples therapy, I mean, they're not staying together. I'm going to try and guide them through divorce.
Okay.
Because they get to a healthy place, but it's a really messy road to get there.
I'll read mine. I like what I wrote.
For it to really work, you both have to read.
I'm not going to.
It's kind of a little dig at her. I like what I wrote. I'll
I
read
just
mine.
think it's a shame that you guys aren't going to get to hear the wonderful things you wrote about each other.
She always says I can't write, but I think mine's pretty good.
Nicole, maybe you'd change your mind once you heard Charlie's.
I don't want to hear Charlie's.
We promised to listen.
That's right. That's the very first step in this process.
Well, I think I'm gonna go if you two are gonna just sit around and suck each other's dicks.
Well,
Have you ever had a walkout like that?
oh, I've had walkouts. I've had some epic walkouts. This guy seems like he's very experienced. Like, he's not being real, right? And in fairness, neither really is Charlie. I mean, he kind of is, but he's also using this as an opportunity to, well, I'll read mine. I like what I wrote.
Yeah.
I mean, if he just said, I'll read mine, that would have been fine. But he said, I like what I wrote.
That was definitely a dig at her.
Yes, I'm showing up, you're not. And he's playing the role of the good guy when he does that.
Right.
And the therapist doesn't call him out on it. The therapist is now just like, oh, yes. And now they're joining together and they're allied against her, which she rightfully calls out. She didn't have to leave, but she could have said, this isn't working for me. What I would do in that situation is I'd be like, okay, Nicole, I gave you all this assignment and I explained to you why I wanted to do this assignment this way.
Sure.
I'm happy to circle back to it, but it seems like you'd rather start in a different place. Tell me where you would like to start. And just keep in mind that you have asked for my help, and so I may take the reins back from you just because I don't want this to descend into chaos. It's a delicate balance. Lasers are the future of next-generation light sources. Nebula is leading light source technology for consumer projectors.
Which means you can get high-end movie theater quality at home.
Hot damn!
Correct.
The Nebula Cosmos 4K projector is more environmentally friendly with high light efficiency, protecting the environment and saving energy.
And you can take it anywhere. Your bedroom, your backyard, the bathroom.
Your bidet.
And you can supersize the Cosmos Laser 4K projector to 150 inches, which means we're taking it out in my backyard and we are going to play some giant
popular racing game.
Or I can bust out those high notes on karaoke nights singing my favorite song.
Heavily copyrighted top 40 English rock hit.
Or I can enjoy my favorite film.
Notable fantasy adaptation.
It also has built-in Dolby audio with 2 speakers that are not garbage.
Really, the Dolby, high quality.
It sounds really good. What
Wow.
I'm saying is, Nebula really puts out.
Amazing sound. And it has Android TV 10.
Which you can access with the included 4K streaming dongle. Don't laugh at that word. If you turn it, auto keystone, it automatically detects where the screen or the wall is, figures out what to do, and just adjusts itself.
With over 7,000 apps, including Netflix, Disney+, HBO Max, Amazon Prime.
It also has a feature called iGuard, which is super handy if you have kids who, like mine, the second you tell them not to walk in front of a projector and look directly down the beam of the projector, walk in front of the projector and look directly down the beam of the projector, it'll actually shut that off and protect them from getting, permanent eye damage.
Wow, thanks Nebula for looking after our kids so we don't have to. Click the link below to get a special discount on your 4K Nebula Cosmos projector and to see all the other amazing projectors from Nebula.
It was better than the sex, the talking. Although the sex was also like the talking. Everything's like everything in a relationship.
Everything's like everything in a relationship.
No, that is very true.
Yeah, it is.
So we
When
spent
one part's good, it's usually all good.
the whole night and the next day together. And
But also, if you're attentive in conversation, you tend to be
just
attentive in bed.
That's
to be
I've
honest.
heard that.
all the problems were there in the beginning.
If you're selfless in like house
I just
jobs,
went along with him in his life
you're
because
probably
it felt so
more giving
damn
than-
good to feel myself alive.
She feels herself alive.
I realized I didn't ever really come alive for myself. I was just feeding his aliveness. And I didn't belong to myself. And it was small stuff, stupid stuff, and big stuff. All the furniture in our house, it was his taste.
All that small
I
stuff,
didn't even
stupid
know
stuff,
what my
and
taste
big stuff.
was
This
anymore
dialogue
because
feels
I
so
never
real
used
because this
it.
is how people talk.
This pilot came along, it shot in LA, and it paid so much. And it was like there was this little lifeline thrown to me. Here's this bit of earth that's yours. And I was embarrassed about it in front of him, but it was also like, yeah, this is who I am. And this is what I'm worth. And maybe it's stupid, but at least it's mine. And if he had just taken me into a big hug and said, baby, I'm so excited for your adventure. Of course I want you to have a piece of earth that's yours. Then, well, then we might not be getting divorced. But
yeah.
he made fun of it and was jealous like he is. And then he realized about the money. And he told me I could funnel it back into the theater company. And that's when I realized.
And she's living for him, and he was letting her.
Yep.
Also, I think he slept with the stage manager, Marianne. That fucking asshole.
And that line right there is Laura Dern's Oscar nomination.
Well,
That turn in that line, just boom.
Because until then, she's like, oh yeah, of course you love him, and he's still a good man. The marriage just isn't working, and then in that moment, she's like,
Maybe I'm reading too much into this, but what I'm seeing in her performance is lawyer brain kicking in and going, and that's how I get all the money.
John Gottman talks about one of the principles for making marriage work. We talked about that in our Addams Family episode that you can watch right here. But he talks about how important it is to know your partner's dreams and to support them in them. And one of the greatest revelations in couples therapy, time and time again, is that people think they know their partner's dreams and they have no idea. Very often in heterosexual relationships, just societal norms, that the man's going to pursue what he's going to pursue and the woman's going to support him. And it doesn't even occur to the man that she's not thrilled to be doing that.
Right.
That why wouldn't she want to go with me on this wonderful adventure of magical me? And how crucial it is when it comes to saving relationships that are on the fritz, to recalibrate and say, we've maybe been doing my thing for a long time now. And I thought I knew what your thing was, and maybe I did when we got together. Maybe I knew exactly what you were about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. What are you about now, and what do you want out of life now? Because maybe we've just settled into this groove, and I've taken for granted that you would be cool with it.
Yeah.
You talk about the screenplay and how real it feels. Why does it feel so real?
What we often think of as good writing is like Aaron Sorkin, like really sharp, quippy, fast stuff that is not how actual people talk.
Yeah.
But the dialogue flows. It feels like poetry almost, right?
Yeah.
And it's fast.
Yeah.
That's good writing. This is very naturalistic good writing in that when people have a conversation, our editors will attest to this. People meander all over the place. And then they get back to the point. And this screenplay does a brilliant job of that. Every scene feels directed and like it's going somewhere, but it also feels like real life is happening.
Yeah.
I got off the plane to a text, but don't tell anyone yet. It's still a secret.
Okay.
I want a MacArthur grant.
Charlie! Oh my God, that's great! Congratulations. I'll say it because you can't. It's the genius grant. You're a genius. Oh, I'm really happy for you. You deserve it.
That's yours too. We did all of this together.
Thank you, but
She is genuinely happy.
Yeah, she's not in love with him anymore. She doesn't want to be his wife anymore. But she's invested in his life. She cares about him. She's genuinely happy for him.
So great.
I've seen this with Alicia and her ex-husband. They're still friends and genuinely happy for each other.
Sure.
no.
Why don't we just start rehearsals again? I don't know.
You always don't know at this point, and then it gets there.
Do I? Because I don't remember.
I know, it's true. It'll be great.
Okay, I hope you're right.
So the note that I would give here clinically is what I just said. I mean, you can no longer be in love and still have love.
Yeah, you can love each other without being in love with each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that no matter what, and she says this in what she writes about him, I will always love him.
Yeah.
You know? And that's the people who matter to us, generally speaking, will always matter to us. Even if they burn bridges.
Sure.
Even if on some level we now hate them, we only hate them because they matter to us.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's hard to hate someone you don't care about at all.
Yeah, it's true.
Feel like I'm in a dream.
We don't have a marriage anymore. I know you don't want the disruption, but you don't want to be married. Not really.
But I don't want this.
What did you expect was going to happen?
I don't know. I guess I didn't think it through. But I thought we agreed we weren't going to use lawyers.
I don't know. I'm trying to say this as undramatically as possible. I want an entirely different kind of life.
Let's wait until you finish this pilot and come back to New York. Let's figure it out there at home, together.
Nora's
We don't
known
need to
for
get
being
into
very
envelopes.
fair.
This is Nora?
Yeah. And she's great. I feel like we could be friends with her.
Why do I feel like that won't happen?
It's just a formality. It's not right away.
The thing that I noticed in that scene is, Nicole is being respectful. She's not, like, pitching a fit or tirade or anything, but she's also, very much taking a stand on, like, these are the things I want out of life. And
Yeah.
I have tried to discuss them and it hasn't worked, so this is now the step.
Yeah, she's right to do so. And the advice that I would give Charlie, because Charlie, she accuses him of self-absorption, and that's a very accurate description of this character.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that very often we think of self-absorbed people and they're not likable and they're not portrayed as decent.
Right.
Whereas he's a very likable, very decent person, but this is a weakness of his.
For sure.
That he gets, how's this going to affect me? So no, I want you to come back to New York.
Home.
Yeah, come home. We'll deal with it then.
Where he hasn't even thought what she considers home.
Yeah,
Does she
she's-
think of New York as home?
Yeah, and she says, "Well, what did you think would happen?" He says, "I don't know. I guess I didn't think it through." I mean, you know that your wife wants a divorce, and you know this is happening, and you've just put off thinking about it.
Yeah.
And then when it happens, you're kind of flabbergasted and fluxumed, but this was going to happen,
Flummoxed.
or flummoxed. Did I say fluxumed?
You sure did.
We'll have to respond right away. Your son goes to school out here?
Yeah, temporarily, we agreed. Her pilot went to series, and I wanted to accommodate her. She's often felt we do things on my terms.
Be a better husband in divorce. Huh?
I guess something like that.
Is
But
that
we
a
live in
thing
New
you've
York.
experienced a lot with clients?
Well, with your kid going to school out here, the court may see it differently.
Will we go to court?
No, we don't want to go to court. Courts in California are a disaster, and that's just how we have to think about it.
But be a better husband in divorce.
Yeah.
Be a better partner, be a better... And, there are a lot of people who work better together as parents and as partners when they don't have to partner up in everything.
Right.
And there are also a lot of people who, they get a divorce, and that was the wake-up call
That's
they
the
needed.
wake-up call, yeah.
And it was too late for that relationship, but they can show up differently in the rest of their life because they face some really harsh consequences for their choices.
You're being so much like your father.
Do not compare me to my father.
I didn't compare you to him. I said you were acting like him.
You're exactly like your mother. Everything you're complaining about her, you're doing.
So this is a
You're suffocating
counterattack.
me.
First of all, I love my mother. She was a wonderful mother.
Just repeating what you told me.
Secondly, how dare you compare my mothering to my mother? My father, but I am not like my mother.
You are! And you're like my father. You're also like my mother. You're all the bad things about all of these people. Mostly your mother. When we would lie in bed together, sometimes I would look at you and see her and just feel so gross.
I felt repulsed when you touched me.
You're a slob. I made all the beds, closed all the cabinets, took care of you like an
makes me
infant.
want to peel my skin off.
You'll never be happy. In LA or anywhere. You think you found some better opposite guy than me, and in a few years, you rebel against him because you need to have your voice. But you don't want a voice. You just want to fucking complain about not having a voice.
I think about being married to you, and that woman is a stranger to me. People used to tell me that you were too selfish to be a great artist, and I used to defend you.
So this has gone from discussion to argument to just outright war.
And the little things become big things because we attach meaning to them. Instead of, you don't close the cabinet doors and that's just a quirk of yours that you don't think of that. This is, I've asked you to, you're not doing it. So
you are choosing to piss me off by not closing the cabinet
this
doors.
is an act of disrespect because if you cared, you'd remember.
Right.
And we talk about in our Fight Less, Connect More class the importance of, if I'm getting aroused, if I'm getting angry, if I feel my heart pounding, if I feel my muscles tense, if I feel my breathing accelerate, then I'm entering a space where I'm going to start saying and doing things that I regret.
Right.
And I might add, for most people, saying and doing things that I don't wholeheartedly believe.
Yeah.
I believe them now when I'm pissed and my prefrontal cortex is shutting down and I'm living in lizard brain.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, like you said, this is war.
Yeah.
This is fight or flight. And either one of them is going to storm out of the room, which she did at the beginning, or it's knives out.
Right.
And at this point, once one person says something deliberately just to hurt the other person, it takes an incredible amount of willpower and self-control to not meet them there.
Right.
And they, in a very human way, fail spectacularly.
Right.
When he says, I look at you lying in bed and sometimes I see your mother and it grosses me.
Makes me feel gross.
He takes a step into saying something that hurts her, and she goes bigger. This is classic, like, you bring a knife, I bring a gun. You bring a gun, I bring a machine gun. Like, boom, 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 boom.
He pulls a knife, you pull a gun. He sends one of yours to the hospital, you send one of his to the morgue. That's the Chicago way.
Where she says, the thought of you touching me makes me want to peel my skin off. And he hears it, but he quickly goes into his next insult so he doesn't have to sit with what she just said.
Right.
I've done divorce mediation. It's still therapy, and it's still, I wouldn't say couples therapy, but I would say partners therapy. I would posit, I don't let fights go out of control in my office.
Right.
The only time I might is in the very first session, because I want to see what it looks like.
You've got to, yeah.
I need the lay of the land, right?
Sure.
But at this stage, I would, if I were in the room with them, I'd be like, guys, hey, what are we accomplishing here? What is this going to get us? Is any good going to come from this? Because they're not asking those questions right now.
No, they're just, I'm going to punch back. That's all they're doing.
By the way, when people say that therapy doesn't work and we don't need therapy,
Liar!
this is why you might. One, to guide it in a healthy direction and to get it somewhere productive. And two, because if there's not a referee, there's no one ringing the bell. There's no one saying, go to your corner. There's no one saying, hey, watch your rabbit punches.
You gaslighted me. You're a fucking villain.
Oh, you want to present yourself as a victim because it's a good legal strategy? Fine. But you and I both know you chose this life. You wanted it until you didn't. You used me so you could get out of LA.
I didn't use you.
You did, and then you blamed me for it. You always made me aware of what I was doing wrong, how I was falling short. Life with you was joyless. And you wanted so much, so fast. I didn't even want to get married. It. There's so much I didn't do.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I can't believe I have to know you forever.
Oh, you're insane. And you're winning.
Are you kidding me? I wanted to be married. I'd already lost. You didn't love me as much as I loved you.
What does that have to do with LA?
So Charlie, ironically, he's a very irrational person who sees himself as a rational person.
Yep. Still like a normal human.
Yeah, but he's like, I don't see what that has to do with LA, instead of, who cares what that has to do with LA? Your wife just said that you never loved her as much as she loved you. If that was untrue, then he should fight about it.
Yep.
If that was untrue, he should tell her why that's not true. And if it is true, then he needs to own that. And instead he says, what does that have to do with LA? And I can't help but laugh, even though it's a very serious scene, because of the lunacy of it all. And you can see it on her face.
Yeah,
you know?
her face, her reaction is flawless. Let's continue.
What?
You're so merged with your own selfishness, you don't even identify it as selfishness anymore. You're such a dick.
Correct.
Every day I wake up and I hope you're dead. Dead like if I can guarantee Henry would be okay, I'd hope you get an illness and then get hit by a car and die.
And this is similar to A Monster Calls. It's not actually wishing her dead. It's just wishing that this would be over.
Yeah. He just wants it to be over.
And if something happened to her,
it would be over.
Yeah.
And this is a thing I find so interesting. Is this something that you've seen where people...
And he says, I'm sorry. Me too.
But where people who objectively hate each other can switch back and forth that fast because they also love each other?
Yeah. It's because they have love for each other that they hate each other so much. Because as you said, it's hard to hate someone that you don't really care about.
Yeah.
Right? That level of switching is very real. Like, I've had times in my marriage where we've had the ugliest fights. And I think a lot of people have. Where the ugliest fights are followed by the sweetest makeups.
Yeah.
Because once you get a lot of the bile out of your system, what you're left with is the love that was buried under the bile.
Sure.
I don't think it has to come out like this. I don't think it has to be an ugly, nasty thing to get there. Sometimes you speak the truth and you speak it in an ugly way, but at least it's out there. And then you calm down and you could say, that's not what I meant, or at least that's not how I meant it.
You know, as the whole film has established, that's been their relationship the whole time.
Yeah.
And so they're just slipping back into old patterns, I think. Directorially, this movie does not have flourishes. There's a fair amount going on in this scene in particular because it's such a long scene. You can't just have two people sitting in one room talking to each other against white walls.
Yeah, so you switch around a lot.
Deeply boring. What Noah Baumbach did is a lot of blocking. People are getting up, they're moving around, they're going into different rooms, even though the camera is always staying in the same room.
Yeah.
They're going down the hall and in the bedroom. They're coming back out and they're going in the kitchen and they're doing all... There's a lot of business.
From an acting perspective, this would physically exhaust your actors as much as doing
absolutely.
a fight scene, like a physical fight scene would.
This is worse.
Why is that?
Because think about the most angry or the most upset or the most sad you've ever been in your life, and then do it 30 times back to back to back to back, over and over and over. You come out of these days with just a splitting headache and just drained. And then you get 12 hours off and then you're back in the makeup chair.
Mm-hmm.
Still haven't finished that scene. We're doing it again.
Oh my gosh.
This is why actors make their money.
While there is growth towards acceptance of this is our reality and we need to co-parent in a healthy way and still love each other, and there is growth in the characters, Charlie is still self-absorbed.
Yeah.
The film's arguing it doesn't even make him a bad person. It's just his major weakness that he hasn't even really done the work on yet.
Nicole has all the issues. She's self-absorbed in a different way than he is.
Yeah.
And unaware of it.
Yeah.
And that's actually one of the things I love about this film is neither one of the characters is perfect. You're the professional and you're seeing more flaws in the relationship from his side, but she's definitely not perfect.
For her, the biggest mistake she made is tolerating it for so long and then snapping all the way over here.
Yeah.
Instead of along the way, like, yes, he walked on her. Yes, she allowed it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't stand up for herself. She didn't have a voice. And in her mind, the only way to have a voice, it's very all or nothing.
Right.
And she could have asserted herself way earlier in the marriage, and there may have been different results. It depends on if Charlie had changed as well.
Sure.
But yeah, you're absolutely right. Like, her biggest flaw is the all or nothingness of it. Mm-hmm. Because it's either I'm in New York and I'm supporting my husband and we're married and we have a family, or now I'm in LA and I'm doing TV and we're not together anymore and that's it. But that's also when people should all over themselves, as we say, like, I should do this, I should do that. They keep putting themselves on the back burner until they can't take it anymore. And then this is, again, it's very realistic screenplay. They tend to go big the other way. That's it, I'm done. The character defects that you see at the beginning of the film, neither of them land in a place where those defects are now resolved like in a typical movie.
Right.
And that's what's very realistic.
There's some improvement on some of them.
Yes, yes. I mean, this right here, when he's crying and she's comforting him, this is one a demonstration of the beautiful love they have between them, and 2, an illustration of why this relationship will not work.
I don't know what this word is.
You're getting so good at reading. What is that?
So they're divorced now.
Look in the mirror to us.
And this is Nicole's letter from the beginning that she wrote that she wouldn't read in the office of what she likes about Charlie.
He is very
Self-sufficient.
He rarely gets defeated, which I feel like I always do. He's a great dresser. He never looks I don't know this one.
Embarrassing.
Embarrassing, which is hard for a man. You read it now.
He's very competitive. He loves being a dad. He loves all the things you're supposed to hate, like the tantrums, the waking up at night. It's almost annoying how much he likes it, but then it's mostly nice. He disappears into his own world. He and Henry are alike that way. He can tell people they have food in their teeth or on their face in a way that doesn't make them feel bad. He's brilliant at creating family out of whoever is around.
When you really know somebody, it's the little things like that.
He casts a spell
that you know that other people
made
don't.
Everyone feel included. No one, not even an intern, was unimportant. He could remember all the inside jokes. He's extremely organized and thorough. He's very clear about what he wants, unlike me, who can't always tell. I fell in love with him 2 seconds after I saw him. And I'll never stop loving him, even though it doesn't make sense anymore.
That was an adequate moment of performance, I guess. Adam Driver. If you ever want to be in one of my movies, you know, I can't pay you that much. We'll talk about it.
There is a happily ever after, but it's unconventional.
It's not together.
Yeah, that it's not together. You can still love somebody and not want them in your life anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and in their case, they get to a beautiful place of, we created Charlie together. Mm-hmm. That binds us. We both love him. That binds us. And when it comes to co-parenting, it's not, I mean, the cliche thing, and it's very true, is do whatever is best for the child, right? Sure. And find that and leave the hurts of the past and the arguments of the past and the anger of the past, leave them in the past, or save them for your therapist, or save them for your friends. Mm-hmm. I think part of good co-parenting, when you can manage it, is to still find a way to love this person. It's a different type of love.
Sure.
But it's the most healing for the child, but it's also the most healing for the people were building a life together and now they're not, and that is traumatic. I love this scene. I love the tenderness of it. I love, after all the pain and the heartache that we've seen, we see just how real what they had was, and even though they've lost it, like, they need to mourn it, but also celebrate that they had it in the first place.
Yeah.
Divorce is a mess. Co-parenting is a mess, but it can be beautiful. And that's one of the greatest things we can do with life is, here's my mess, and here's my trauma, and it's not what I wanted, and it's not what I would have chose, but it is my reality, so how am I going to turn it into something lovely? And you can.
You can make a movie about it. That's adequately shot.
You can make a movie about almost anything that's
adequately shot. You can make a movie
shot.
about anything. That's true.
You used me so you could get out of L.A. I didn't use you. You did, and then you blamed me for it.
So until next time, you're just like your mother.
Don't you dare compare me to my mother.
And
watch movies.
Gosh.
You could drive a person crazy. You could drive a person mad. First you make a person hazy, so a person could be had.